So, what is monster hunting? I mean, Sean Hunt's Monsters is a pretty catchy title, but what does that mean? Well, in essence, it means adventure. And I mean real adventure. I mean the kind of adventure where you get out from behind the screen. Of course, you are behind a screen right now, so I recognize that seems a little oxymoronic. So let's talk about monsters. What are monsters? Well, back in the day, there used to be these old maps, and they'd say, "Here be dragons," on the map. And that was for any area that was unmapped and they didn't know what was there. And it's with that kind of a spirit that we're hunting monsters. I mean, I could have named it, Sean Hunts Dragons, but that, I like dragons and I'm not a high enough level character to really hunt dragons. So, we're going to have to just settle for monsters on the whole. But in reality, the adventure is what it's about. And I think that there's so much adventure that exists out there for all of us. For example, I knew a guy one time who was fishing on a boat off the coast of Alaska, and it was a crazy, crazy night, and the storms were going. And this guy was on a small crew, so it was a small boat, and they had about 5 guys in the cabin, and the seas were so rough, and they were being rocked back and forth really, really hard. And then it was so rough that they were all kind of tied themselves in, like they were holding on to the sides of the deck. And then as the storm was raging and there was thunder crashing, they heard this sound, this ungodly scream. I mean, it's the kind of sound that you can't really describe. And the only person who kind of had any sort of sense of recognition was the captain. And the captain lets go of the side of the wall and he runs towards the front of the boat, the bow, or is it the stern? Anyway, the front. And he gets there, and all of a sudden he turns around and he's got a repeating rifle. And of course, this boat is going back and forth. Everybody's like, whoa, guy with a gun. Then he chambers around while the boat is going, right? So he's like got this rifle, which he's trying to control inside of this boat, and everybody's wondering what's going on. And he blows open the back door. And just as soon as his elbows open that back door, the lightning crashes and they can see it. And they're the whole rear end of the boat is almost in the water, and there's a walrus. Now, to you and I, we'd say it's a walrus, but this thing was massive. It took the whole back of the boat, and as the lightning crashed, it screamed again, took its head up, and smashed into a massive crate of these fish totes they have, which are like the size of a desk. I mean, they're enormous. And it was eating the fish, and so the captain, he fires a couple rounds at this thing. It looks at him, screams again, smashes another tote with his head, and then as the lightning crashes, it just falls off the back of the boat back into the water as though nothing had even occurred to it. And I remember hearing that story and thinking, I remember seeing walruses in National Geographic, and I don't really think of them as, a totally terrifying creature, but when you hear about it that way, I mean, there's no other way to express it. That's a monster. And there's many things that we can run into, like people who've never run into bears at night or had any sort of like crazy experiences. It's easy for us to sit behind a screen and be like, well, that's not really scary. That's not really something you need to worry about. I mean, there are monsters which exist out there in the world, aside from walruses. Nothing against walruses, of course. But that story always stuck with me because I always thought, wow, I never really thought of a walrus as a monster. So, like in those old maps where they say, "Here be dragons," outside in the world, beyond the confines of the room you're in, or even on the screen you're looking at, there is a world around you. And they say the world's getting smaller. And that's not true. I think what's happening is that your world may be getting smaller. I remember I was diving, and I had this moment where I sat down underwater on the floor of the ocean. It was pretty shallow, and I'm diving in British Columbia, so your visibility is really, really, very limited. I mean, if you've got 30 feet of visibility, it's a really good day. And I remember I sat down amongst all these creatures that look like ferns. And as soon as I sat down, all the ferns started flapping their little fern arms and just kind of flew away from me. And I remember it was like the most unreal experience I'd ever had, because I thought they were plants, and all of a sudden they turned out to be animals, and they were like running away from me. And the wonder of that, I mean, I can remember it like it was yesterday. And that's the kind of thing that we want to do with here on the channel with Sean Hunt's Monsters. It's not just about the supernatural, which is a big part of it. Let's not forget that. But there's lots of adventure to be had. I live in British Columbia, so I intend to take you along hunting a plethora of ghost towns and treasure hauls, and just about anything else I can think of. And that's really what the channel is going to be about. Sean Hunt's Monsters is about adventure, but Sean Hunt's Adventure doesn't really sound that great, and, you know, Sean Hunt's Walruses will probably get me in trouble. And besides, I wouldn't really hunt walruses or dragons because I don't think I could eat them all. And I kind of believe you should eat what you hunt as a personal note. But yeah, so when we talk about hunting monsters, that's what I mean. The adventure that is coming. So on that, there's going to be a certain amount of preparation that needs to go along with it. And it's going to be uncomfortable. I mean, there's going to come a point, if you're not out there in the dark listening to some crazy sound and you're trying to get it on a microphone and you actually feel that adrenaline surge, you're not doing it right. You need to make sure you have that. If you don't have that, then you're doing it wrong, man. You need to get out there and experience things. And it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to put you outside of your comfort zone. That's the whole point. It's about experiencing life, because so much of life now is just this, I don't know, doesn't it feel kind of manufactured to you? Doesn't it feel like everything is sort of this repetition or a simulation? That's how it kind of is coming across to me. And I think that there's a real opportunity for us to, I mean, yes, you need to have research, and that's a vital part of it. I mean, you have to plan in order to be successful. But there's the doing that is involved. There's the getting out there and having the real adventures. And that's what Sean Hunt's Monsters is really about. And, you know, maybe we can rename the maps, hey, here be monsters.